Good morning, my lovely Niners. Right, buddies, this is it, my lovelies. This is the very last lesson in our unit on change of subject. You guys have already shown that you're really, really good at it. I'm pleased with how quick you've picked it up and how quick you've learned it. Like from the first lesson when people weren't really sure, and people weren't showing me any steps and stuff like that. We've come a really long way. Your guys' homework looks awesome the last couple times. And so this is it. This is our final chance to practice. And to make it good, what I've got is I've got these really escalating quickly in terms of difficulty. So you should be managing it, hopefully, though. I do think that you'll be able to do it. And I've even snuck some Year 10 extension questions in for you, too, at the end. Because I think it's good for you, and you'll be able to be having head start in Year 10 then, so that'll be ace. So your title today, my buddies, is Final Change of Subject Practice. Cool. Now, here's what you're going to do. To start with, buddies, we are going to be working on these questions. There's 6 of them again, just like last time. Now, I want you to try them ahead of me, okay? So try not to listen in apart from the last 2, where the Year 10 ones are, because you'll probably get stuck unless you know what the trick is for the last 2. But for the first 4, A, B, C, D, you should pause the video and try to get ahead of me whenever you get a chance. Now, to make sure that you're getting the right answer, I'll always promise to draw a square around my answer at the bottom, and that'll be how you know that I finished the question, and then you can check that your answer is matching up with mine. So if you want to skip parts because you think you really get it, that's okay. Just skip ahead to check if your answer matches my answer, and then if it doesn't, then you'll need to go back and just watch the minute or 2 it took me to solve the question, and then you'll see exactly why yours didn't match up. You'll be able to find where any mistakes were. So that's the goal, my buddies. Cool. So here we go. First question, buddies, is this one here. It says 2y take away 1 equals 4x plus 2. We want the subject to be x. Okay? Same deal here. Subject to be x, but with way more letters. Here's what you should do. Pause, try A and B, go. Okay, and so here we go, my buddies who are sticking with me, so I'm glad that you've had a chance to try now, but here we go. Let's do it. So how do you do these again? Well, you want x to be the subject. You say, where's x? Well, it's there. It's with its mate, the 4. Now, I'm going to only box the 4 off once in these times, I think, just to make sure you definitely get it. So we're protecting the 4 and the x is with its mate, the 4. So you say to yourself, what doesn't belong? I've got 4x on this side. What doesn't belong? What's the plus 2? So what do? Take 2. To keep it fair, take 2 off both sides. That leaves you with this, buddies. It leaves you with 2y, and then minus 1 minus 2 is actually minus 3, is equal to 4x. Now it's time for the matey to go home. It's time for the 4 to go home, so even though it's paired with the x, it's still time to get rid of it. Now if it's 4 lots of x, it's 4 times x. Opposite of times is divide. Divide the whole of both sides by 4. Make your sound to cancel it out, leaving you with the final answer of this. X equals 2y, take 3, all over 4 as a final answer. So I hope that you got that. That would be kind of a medium difficulty one that we're starting on. Okay, here we go. One step harder, medium difficulty here. Same deal, I want x, but the trouble with this one is there's A's, B's, there's C's, there's D's, and there's not very many numbers. It's quite a lot more lettery, this one, but actually, that can sometimes make it easier. So you say to yourself, where's x? Well, it's there. It's with its mate, the A. So who doesn't belong? Well, the minus D. So how do you get rid of it? Plus D to both sides. That means on the left-hand side, buddies, we're going to be left with 4ab, take 5c, and you're just going to have to pop the plus d on the end because it hasn't got any like-term friends, right? It's not like you can put it together with anything because there's not any terms that have only just a d in them. So all of these have different letters, so it just has to be stuck like that. What's left on this side? Well, just the a and the x. But now it's time for the a to go home so we can get x on its own. It's a lots of x, a times x. So what do? Well, you're right. Divide the whole of both sides by a. Cancel, cancel, leaving you with x equals 4ab minus 5c plus d all over a. I bet you got that right, and I bet also you didn't realize how good you'd be at this in just a couple of days. So that's really, really good. I'm super pleased. Okay, C and D are both nightmare questions. These are as hard as they could possibly get in year 9, okay? So these are nightmare year 9 questions. E and F, I'm gonna have to probably teach you a trick for, but C and D are as hard as year 9 goes. You'd be really unlucky to get one like this. So here's the deal. We did practice this type last time. We didn't do it with the squared, but I think you'll know what to do with that. We practiced this type last time, so I still think you're good to go. So I think you should pause and try them. Pause, go. Okay, and you're back, my buddies. Let's see, let's see. So, same deal as last time, but a little bit trickier. Say to yourself, I want x to be the subject. Well, x isn't actually in it, but x squared is, so we can make the x squared the subject, which would be good, but it's with its mate, the 5. So the x is there, and it's with the mate, the 5. Now, we've got a few steps to sort this out. First step first is if you look at this question, it's quite awkward because of this fraction. We can't move anything over. We can't get rid of the -4. We can't divide by 5. We can't square root. We can't do any of that stuff if the stupid fraction is blocking us from doing any of that. So I need to get rid of this fraction of divide by 2. So what is it I can do to both sides to fix that? That's it. You times the whole of both sides by 2. Because on this side it's nice and easy because it goes and now there's no fraction anymore. And this side just becomes y times 2. Y times 2, which is, of course, 2y. Now this side doesn't have a fraction anymore, so it's just 5x squared take 4. Okay, it's very nearly normal. It's very nearly to where we like it now. 5x squared take away 4 equals 2y. X is there. It happens to be squared and it's with its mate, the 5. So who doesn't belong? That's it. It's the thing on its own. It's the -4. So let's get rid of it. Plus 4 to both sides. Giving us 2y plus 4 equaling 5x squared. Okay, buddies. Next step. I know you've got it in your head that we want to square root, and we do, but it's not yet. Before we can square root, we need to get the x on its own. We need to get the x squared part on its own. So our next step, buddies, is to make the 5 go home. How is the 5 attached to the x squared? Well, multiplication. How do we move it? Well, divide. Divide both sides by 5. You're left with 2y plus 4 all over 5 equaling x squared. And now you're good to go. Our x is squared. How do you stop it being squared? Well, that's it, buddies. You square root. X equals, and you have to do a big, tall square root that covers the whole fraction, 2y plus 4 all over 5. Brilliant as your final answer. Gets you full marks all the way to the bank. And if you want to be really snazzy with it, if you want to be like pretending like you're a year 11 or a year 12, you'll know that when you square root something, or when you have something squared, there's actually 2 numbers that make the answer, a plus and a minus version. So if you want to be really snazzy, stick that little plus minus sign in front of your square root, and that's cool. But, my buddies, in year 9 and in year 10, and pretty much for most of year 11, if you just put only the one of them, you would still get full marks if you didn't even bother with that. But there is 2 answers, so it's righter, it's actually correct to have the plus and the minus. In case you don't remember from last time, it's because, say, x squared equaled 36. Well, yeah, that means x is 6, but also -6 also works, because -6 times -6 would also be plus 36. That's where the plus minus comes from. Cool? So you should put it. Okay, whack a square around that. Make sure you got the right answer. Okay, same deal on this one, buddies. Have a look. If you can do this one, you can definitely do this one. So if you had to watch me on this one, push pause and try this one. Go. Okay, and you're back. So let's do it. First things first, the fraction is awkward. Let's get rid of it. Times 3. Now, you have to remember in this case that you're timesing the whole of both sides by 3. It's like you're doing this, but I find that notation just a bit awkward. So it is like that. You're tripling the whole of both sides. But rather than write it like that, I'm putting a little times 3 here. And I'm just remembering that I'm timesing every single term by 3. A term being something that's separated by plus or minus. So there's 2 terms here. This whole thing counts as 1 because it's in a fraction. And that's it. Cancel them out. 4y times 3 is 12y. Minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. On this side, ooh, shoot, that's supposed to be purple. On this side, so 12y takes 6. 12y takes 6. And on this side, you're going to just be left with 2x squared minus b. What do you do next, buddies? Well, yeah, you're right. You add the b plus b plus b. Because then you're going to be left with 12y minus 6 plus b equals 2x squared. Then what, buddies? Well, not square root yet. We need to get rid of that too by dividing both sides by 2. Canceling out. We're left with 12y take 6 plus b all over 2 equaling x squared. And you're ready to go in for the kill. How do you stop it from being an x squared? Well, that's it. A big, tall square root. That square root is the whole of this side. So 12y take 6 plus b all over 2. All of it trapped in the square root. And because we want to be all the way correct like what a year 12 student would be and like what a year 11 student would be, we'll also include the plus and the minus because that makes our answer really thorough, which is brilliant. Cool? And there you go. If you can do that, you're as hard as you need to be for year 9. And I'm going to show you these guys here too because they're quite good for year 10. And I think some of you will want the challenge. And I think it's quite interesting. And there's one on your homework that I'm going to give you or on your classwork I'm going to give you. So it's worth a look. Okay, check this one out. Ooh, I forgot to say I want X as the subject in both of them. Okay. If you want X to be the subject here, buddies, here's what you have to look at. You say, where is X? Well, in this case, it's here, but it's also here. But there's actually a great big problem here, buddies, because how am I going to make X the subject if it's in 2 different spots? Like, I can't move the bx to the other side, because then if I did that, then there'd be x's on both sides, and that would be a nightmare. If I move this right-hand side over, then you just have all the rubbish on the left-hand side, and that would be also a nightmare. So it's a real problem. Can I add them together? Like, could I add ax plus bx? Would that be like maybe abx squared? Well, no, it wouldn't be because that'd be multiplication if I did that. And they're not like terms because they're not exactly the same letters. So it's not like it's 2abx or anything like that. They don't go together because they're not like terms. They don't have exactly the same letters. So if only, my buddies, if only you knew a way to take a letter that's in 2 spots and switch it so it's only in 1. If only there was a skill that you learned last year and this year that would help you with it, my buddies. If only there was a skill that started with fact and ended with orize. That's it, you can factorize, my buddies, and that is the trick. You're going to have to put a bracket in. So this is the final step of change the subject. This is like year 10 change of subject. And check it out. See how X is in 2 spots? That's not really acceptable to us. So we're going to do this thing where we group up the X's together. X is common there and there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put an X, because it's common, then open the bracket. What do you times X by to get AX? Well, A. What do you times X by to get plus B? Well, or plus BX? Well, it's plus B. Got it, buddies? Because if you times out that bracket, it would become AX plus BX, which does match up with the question before. If this is really looking weird to you right now, I'll give you an easier example. Remember when you used to get questions like this, 6x plus 18, and you're supposed to put a bracket in? And then you'd say, what's common? And you'd be like, okay, 6 and 18. 2 goes into them both, 3 goes into them both, but the biggest thing that goes into them both is 6. And then you'd put a 6, then you put an open bracket. Then you say, what do I times 6 by to get 6x? Well, x. What do I times 6 by to get 18? Well, 3. It's that skill. Can you see that it's that skill? It's this from year 8, but now you're using it in year 9 with letters only, which is cool. I like it. Cool. This side stays the same. 5y plus 2. And check it out, you're actually even one step away now. We want X to be the subject, right? But it's times by this entire bracket. So how do I get rid of what's the opposite of timesing by an entire bracket? Well, if you said dividing by the entire bracket, you're right. Because you can go whoosh, whoosh on the whole bracket, and that leaves you just with x equals, well, 5y plus 2 on the top. And on the bottom, see how there's nothing actually touching the bracket? I'm going to bin the bracket off and just write a plus b because there's nothing touching it. And so that's the final answer. If there was a 2 touching it, I couldn't bin it off. Because there's nothing, I can bin it off. So there you go, buddies. Your final challenge of subject challenge from me is going to be this last question. I'm going to tell you what to do, but I want you to do it without me. The x's are on both sides. You can see that there's an ax on this side and a cx on that side. Put all the x's over to the left, put everything that's not a left over to the right, factorize, and solve. Are you ready? Go. Okay, and you're back. Let's see how you did it. Okay, we got to get everything that's an x over to the left-hand side and everything that's not over to the right-hand side. So first things first, I don't like that minus 5 because it's not an x, so I'm going to plus 5 to both sides. That'll leave me with, I'm going to do it in 2 steps. It'll just be ax on this side, and that's going to equal cx plus y plus 5. Okay, so there's nothing left on this left-hand side that shouldn't be, but actually the cx needs to come over to the left because all the x's have to be to the left. It's been plussed onto the other things on that side, so we'll have to take it. Take cx, take cx. That way, buddies, you have ax, take cx, equals y plus 5. Now what, buddies? The x is in 2 spots, and they're not like terms. They can't go together. You can't actually bang those together. So x is in 2 spots. What do I have to do to get it in 1 spot? Starts with fact and ends in orize. That's it, you factorize! Pull the x. X, open bracket. What's missing from the first term? Well, a. What's missing from the second term? Take c. That times us out to the line above. This part stays the same, y plus 5. And your final step, to get x on its own, divide both sides by a takes c, a takes c. I'm going to put the bracket in just to show you, but we're going to bin it off in the next line anyway. Leaving you just with x equals y plus 5 all over a takes c, like a boss. So that's that, buddies. That is the finishing of Year 9, change of subject, and a bit of taste of Year 10. Which is awesome. So I hope it's okay. I hope you get it. Tell me if you don't get it. And that's brilliant. Cool, cool, cool. I'm going to get you to do this today, my lovelies. It looks like it's a big nightmare, but I'm actually going to relax for a change. If you want to actually build the puzzle, you don't have to show steps, okay? If you can figure out where they go without actually showing steps, it's going to be okay in this case, okay? For a one-off for me, because I always make you show steps. If you don't want to build the puzzle, then I do need you to show steps, and here's how you're going to do it. You want to make x the subject for all of them. So, for instance, that one is a question because x isn't the subject. This one and this one are answers because x is the subject, and that's an answer because x is the subject, and that's a question because x is not the subject. Get it, buddies? And that's a question because x is not the subject yet. Cool? So you're going to go through. There's only half as many questions as it looks because of that. Get them all put together. They make a big hexagon if you get them right, so it's 3 things long. I've made it so it'll print 4 to 1, so on a piece of A4 it'll print nicely like what you're used to in school. And that's it. So good luck, my buddies. Upload me a picture when you're all done. And that's it from me then. That's it for change of subject. So see you next time, buddies. Bye, buddies!